Chapter 3, Flour Dust and Silent Kindness. For the next 2 weeks, the shop became a rhythm of two worlds colliding. Silas arrived at 6:30 a.m. sharp. He brought his own tools, his own water, and his silence. The sounds of his work filled the space, the rhythmic tap-tap-tap of a hammer, the deep whir of a drill, the soft scrape of sandpaper smoothing wood. He was precise, meticulous, and incredibly skilled. Every measurement was exact. Every joint was tight. He treated the old building with a respect that surprised Clara, talking softly to the walls, running his hand along the beams, as if understanding their history. Clara arrived just as early. While Silas built, she cleaned. She scrubbed floors until her knees ached. She scraped old paint. She washed windows until the glass shone like diamonds. And when the space was clean enough, she began to test her skills again. She brought ingredients from her small savings: flour, yeast, sugar, butter, spices. She set up a small temporary table in the corner and began to bake. At first, she was afraid. Every time she shaped dough, she heard Elias's voice, "Is that straight enough? Does it look professional? People will laugh if it's imperfect." Her hands shook. She threw away batches that were slightly lopsided. She second-guessed every measurement. But then, the smell began to fill the room. Yeast rising, warm, earthy, alive. Cinnamon and nutmeg, sweet and comforting. Vanilla and citrus, bright and happy. The scent wrapped around the dust and the sawdust, mixing into something new, home. Silas never commented. He never looked over. He never said a word about what she was doing. But Clara noticed small things. When she was struggling to move a heavy sack of flour, it would be moved to exactly where she needed it when she turned back around. When she dropped a measuring cup, a large hand would reach down to pick it up before she could bend. When she sighed in frustration at a stubborn batch of dough, Silas would hammer just a little softer, or pause his sawing entirely. One morning, she pulled a tray of sugar cookies from the oven, golden, crisp, dusted with sparkling white sugar. They were simple, perfect in their imperfection. She looked at Silas, who was securing a heavy shelf above her future display counter. He had been working for 3 hours without a break. On impulse, she took a napkin, placed 2 cookies on it, and set it near his toolbox. She didn't say anything. She just went back to kneading bread. She heard him stop. She heard him set down his hammer. She felt his gaze on her back. Then, quiet footsteps. He picked up the napkin. She heard him take a bite. For a terrifying second, she waited for criticism. Too sweet. Too soft. Not professional. Instead, she heard a low, rough murmur. "Best thing I've tasted in years." She turned around, shocked. Silas was already back to work, hammering away as if nothing had happened. But the tips of his ears were slightly pink, and the tension that usually sat heavy in his shoulders had melted away. That afternoon, when she made a mistake and spilled flour all over the floor, she started to panic. Elias would have been furious, called her clumsy, useless, but Silas just handed her a broom. "Mistakes make dust," he said quietly. "Dust can be swept. Wood doesn't break, and flour doesn't ruin things. Not here." In the quiet of the shop, amidst the sawdust and the rising dough, Clara realized she wasn't just building a bakery. She was building a safe place. And Silas, he was helping her build it with her. Chapter 4, Shadows in the Window. The grand opening of Clara's oven was everything she had dreamed of. She painted the sign herself in soft cream lettering with a little scroll design: "Clara's Oven, bread and pastries made with love." She wore a blue dress she had bought with her own money, simple, comfortable, hers. She filled the shelves with everything she loved: crusty sourdough loaves, sweet apple pies, buttery croissants, cinnamon rolls dripping with glaze, and sugar cookies shaped like stars and hearts. The town came. Mrs. Gable brought flowers. Neighbors brought welcome gifts. People smiled, complimented her, bought her food, and promised to return. For a few beautiful hours, Clara felt completely happy. She felt seen, appreciated, and free. But freedom is fragile, and old fears have long shadows. It happened late one evening, a week after opening. Clara was alone in the shop, wiping down the counters and counting her earnings, small, but enough to make her proud. It was raining outside, soft and heavy, blurring the streetlights. She looked up to wipe a smudge from the window, and her blood ran cold. Parked across the street, half hidden under an oak tree, was a black luxury sedan. Sleek, expensive, dark. It was exactly the kind of car Elias drove. Her heart hammered against her ribs so hard she could hear it in her ears. He found me. He came for me. He's going to get out. He's going to walk in, take my arm, and tell me I've been silly, that I need to come home, that I can't survive without him. She backed away from the glass, knocking over a jar of sprinkles. The crash sounded like a gunshot in the quiet shop. She pressed her hands to her mouth, tears stinging her eyes. She felt small again. She felt trapped again. The walls seemed to close in. Then the bell chimed. Clara gasped, spinning around, ready to run. But it wasn't Elias. It was Silas. He stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his coat, holding his tool bag. He had come back to check a loose hinge on the back door, something he had mentioned earlier. He didn't look confused or annoyed. He looked straight at her face, at her terror, and his expression shifted instantly from gruff Carpenter to something much softer, much stronger. "Hey," he said, his voice low and calm, cutting right through her panic. "Clara, look at me." She gasped for air, pointing trembling toward the window. "The car, across the street, it looks like him." Silas didn't rush. He didn't dismiss her fear. He walked slowly to the window, staying out of direct sight, and glanced outside. Then he turned back to her, solid as an oak beam. "It's just Mr. Henderson's new car. He lives 2 streets over. I know the license plate. I know the car. It's not him." Clara sank onto a crate, her legs giving out. The relief was immense, but the shame followed quickly. "I'm safe here. Why am I still so scared?" "I'm sorry," she whispered, wiping her face. "I'm so jumpy. Every shadow looks like him. Every man in a suit looks like him. I thought I was done being afraid." Silas sat on the floor next to her, right there in the dust and mess, something no one of Elias's world would ever do. He leaned his back against the counter, looking straight ahead. "Fear doesn't leave just because you move houses," he said quietly. "I know. I ran from things too. A long time ago. I thought if I moved far enough, the memories wouldn't follow. But they do. They sit in your head. They whisper." He turned to her, his dark eyes steady. "But you know what else happens. You build new things, new memories, new safety. You build it board by board, just like I build a house. You build it until the new stuff is stronger than the old fear. And when you're scared, you look around. You look at these walls. You look at this shop. You look at what you made. And you remember, I am here. I am safe. And I am free." He stood up and offered her a hand, large, rough, warm. "And while I'm around, nothing bad gets in. Understand? I built these walls strong. I built the doors solid. And I'll stand right in the doorway if I have to. You're safe here, Clara." She took his hand, letting him pull her up. For the first time, she realized Silas didn't just build furniture. He built safety. And he was building it for her.